Welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Zone. I'm your co-host, Tom Spitalere. With the holiday rush and the traffic and everything else, Bob and Melissa are out on assignment tonight. So tonight we are broadcasting from historic, beautiful, haunted downtown Lawrence, Massachusetts, high above Jesse's Diner, which is located right below us. Great place to eat. They are not sponsors of the show, but I love their food. And we are overlooking the mighty Merrimack River and the canals in the very plush suites of Lawrence Community Access TV, the only community access TV in Lawrence. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is the Paranormal Zone. In this show, we look at different views of the paranormal. We bring guests in as far as all over the world to talk about things like Jack the Ripper in the past, UFOs with Kay Golden, resident ufologist who's very knowledgeable of what she does and got a great book out there, to Bigfoot and creatures that go bump in the night. And we respect everybody's views. But tonight, I've been getting a lot of phone calls. It's kind of the off season of the paranormal right now, but it's been a very interesting off season. We've been busy with the Festival of Trees at the Buttonwoods Museum, which reopens this Wednesday, and goes through Sunday with a lot of cool things going on. So check out the Buttonwoods Festival of Trees Facebook page. But this week I've gotten a few phone calls with a lot of stuff going on in southeastern Massachusetts, an area that I've investigated and Essex County has investigated in the past. It is called the Bridgewater Triangle. And tonight we're going to revisit it. We've done it before on this show, but we are going to revisit it with some new and exciting things that have been happening down there. But before we get really going into what was going on down there, the Bridgewater Triangle, believe it or not, is over 200 square miles in southeastern Massachusetts, known for numerous unexplained phenomena, including UFO sightings, strange creatures, Bigfoot, ghostly encounters, strange lights. It also includes the Hockomock Swamp and the Freetown State Forest, and I've been to both those locations. Those two locations are tied with Native American folklore and a lot of unexplained activity, deaths, crimes, weird things that go bump into the night. So, with that said, some of the locations we are going to look at are the Hockomock Swamp, the Freetown State Forest, Dighton Rock, which is impressive, and Profile Rock. We're going to talk about some of the cryptids such as Bigfoot, Pudgewuckies, UFO sightings, ghosts, and other phenomena that include animal spirits and other things that have gone on down there. So, but where did this Bridgewater Triangle come from? Do we even know that? Well, it was coined in a 1978 book by the legendary cryptozoologist Loren Coleman, who also, and I've done a lot of work and research on the Ossipee Triangle and the Bennington Triangle, which I haven't done a lot on, but those are some of the major triangles that we see and deal with. So with that said, the Bridgewater Triangle, now, if you look at it, it is a triangle, okay? One side is Bridgewater, Abington, Rehoboth, and Freetown. So that's the areas, at the points, all right? There are 14 towns inside the Bridgewater Triangle, 19 total. Here are some of the towns. Abington, Rehoboth, Freetown, Brockton, Whitman, West Bridgewater, East Bridgewater, Middleborough, Dighton, Berkeley, Raynham, where the famous Raynham Taunton Greyhound Park is. There's a trail out back there that's very excited. Norton, Easton, Lakeville, Assonet, Seacon, and of course Taunton and Fall River. New Bedford. The list just goes on and on and on. So that's some of the towns that this area encompasses. It's also known for its Fall River murders, Lovecraft country. Lovecraft did some stuff down there we can talk about later on. So some of the stuff that has happened in this area for paranormal phenomena, UFOs such as poltergeist, spectral phenomena, various Bigfoot sightings, giant snakes, thunderbirds. There's a great picture of a thunderbird taken. It's in Lauren Coleman's book over then what is called Ben Schaefer Stadium at the time, then called Foxborough Stadium, now called, I believe it's Gillette where the Patriots play. So there's a lot going on there. Let's look at the Freetown State Forest as our first location. Freetown State Forest, commonly shortened as a Freetown Forest. It's a publicly owned land. Now, believe it or not, that is over 5,000 acres. And it covers Fall River, Freetown, and Lakeville. The forest lines are mostly in the town of Freetown. About a third of the town dividing Assonet and East Freetown. And the Fall River is the northernmost boundary. The forest includes Profile Rock, granite outcropping with local Native Americans believe is a chief Massasoit. 227-acre Pocasset Reservation. The forest is owned by the state of Massachusetts and is operated by the DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation. So they had purchased this, the state acquired this land back in 1913, but it started with 9 acres around Forge Pond from Levy Churchill of Berkeley. The majority of land acquired over the next 20 years, beginning in the 30s. Recent additions included 87 acres in 2012, 29 acres in 2015, 77 acres again in 2015 in the Sonnet, and 613 acres in Lakeville in 2015. So, this is quite, the area. They've had some big fires down there. They had some fires that burned in the forest back in the September of 1980, burned about 230 acres of woodland adjacent and to the state forest was covered for about, and then fires in 1988 and 81 estimated about 100 acres. And while the fire in March of 76 destroyed an estimated 500 acres. The last major fire was April 30th, 2001, and it destroyed between 90 and 100 acres. Most of the fires were put out on April 30th, while small fires continued on May 1st. So it's also been an area of missing people. In 1978, Mary Lou Arroyo, a 15-year-old cheerleader abducted from Raynham in September, was discovered tied to trees in the state forest. James M. Cater of Brockton, previously convicted of kidnapping in 1967. was convicted of the murder in 1979, and then in Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court overturned the verdict of his conviction in 1986. The verdict was once overturned. He was retired in 1992, that attempt ending in a mistrial. They tried to retry him, but it ended in a mistrial. And this is the same guy, even though he lived in Brockton, he's got ties to the local families up in northeastern Massachusetts. While investigating one of the murders, some individuals claimed that they had witnessed satanic cult activity in the state forest, and that was back in 1980. These reports would have been bearing forth the Cater trial from 1996 to 2000, which ended with the conviction upheld. In 1996, the trial defense charged the police withheld information relating to an alleged satanic cult activity, in which claim could have been provided as an alternative to Cater. More murders subsequently related to the state forest in 87. Transient drifter mistaken for an undercover police officer was murdered in the forest in 2001. 2 men were shot dead near Bell Rock Road, which runs into the forest connecting a Sonnet and Fall River. 2 assaults also reported in Fall River in 91, a teenager from New Bedford in 1998. And so it's quite an interesting area as far as that stuff is concerned. Also, known in the Freetown State Forest, there has been people have seen things, people have felt things. When we went out there, we had an interesting time in the forest. We actually started feeling things, some of the people who were with us. So that's one place you'd want to go check out. This is actually a good time of year to do it, too. The Hockomock Swamp means a place where spirits dwell in the Algonquin language. So that's another one of those weird locations. The Hockomock Swamp, very interesting location again. It is 200 square miles of so-called paranormal vortex with 3 points in Abington, Rehoboth, and Freetown. And inside these communities are Taunton, Raynham, and Berkeley. The Hockomock Swamp is about 16,950 acres and considered the largest freshwater swamp in the state as a flood control mechanism for the region. So during the 17th century, the swamp was used by the Wampanoag Native Americans, the predominant Native American tribe in the area, to protect themselves from the early English settlers. It played a huge role in King Philip's War. Operations for King Philip's, better known as Metacom, and assault on the early English settlers. During the 18th and 19th century, the Euro-American settlers deemed basically European settlers deemed the land worthless, barren, attempted to drain it to convert it into profitable farmland. William Chaffin of Easton was an early advocate of drainage. However, the natives placed this higher value swamp for centuries. The natives relied on hunting there. Swamp gathering gained revered status among them. The name Hockomock is an Algonquin meaning for place where spirits dwell. So if the spirits are dwelling here and you have the English wanting to come in, you're already looking for trouble. In addition to life-sustaining activities, the swamp served dual purposes as sacred burial ground. The Hockomock Swamp, occasionally referred to as the Hobomock, Hobomock. The Wabanach worship feared the Hobanoke, aka Hobbamock, Hobomock, the chief deity of death and disease. Hobomock, composed of human souls of the dead, was known to congregate in this area like the Hockomock Swamp. Thus, the terms Hockomock and Hobomock became interchangeable, and non-natives referring to the swamp as a spirit. So, there are many stories behind what's in this swamp. They have seen many, many things in this swamp. People have seen shadow figures, UFOs, Bigfoot. You're going to get that weird feeling when you go down there. You ever took a walk in there? So this is somewhere you just don't want to go get caught. If you're down there, you want to get back safely. So, I mean, we were in there walking the swamp one day. And let me tell you, the whole time we were in there, and even the Freetown State Forest, I'll go back to that too. We went in the back way of the Freetown. And when we got out there, no, sorry, it was the swamp. We went in another way to get into the swamp. When we got out there, there was grass laying down like something big was laying in the grass. And we didn't know what it was. Every time I called out King Philip or Chief Medicom, the wind would blow. It looked like there might have been some Bigfoot the day we were there. They might have been there just before we got there. We're out on the trail behind the old dog track, Raynham Taunton Greyhound Park. There's a trail that goes back there. And we walked pretty far out there. We went through the swamp. Of course, we went during the daytime. And we didn't inquire any quick mud, but that's something you have to watch out for. No big snakes, no big panthers. But you know they're there. People drop snakes all the time thinking they're going to make it through the winter and stuff because they belong in the wild. Exotic snakes do not, and people have tried and they end up dying in the cold. But they're there, so you have to kind of watch out where you step. But every time we go, King Philip, the wind would blow. We found places off the both trails, the rail trail and the walking trail where they crossed, where these animals could have laid down. So that was, extremely interesting, what happened there. Freetown, like I said, is 303 acres of land. So, if you go out there, I would definitely listen and enjoy, because you don't know what you're going to see out there. You really don't. It is very, very interesting, to be totally honest with you. We're having all sorts of trouble getting to my notes right now. The computer's got some paranormal issues with it. There we go. So the next thing we'll look at is Profile Rock, supposedly site of where the Wampanoag historic of Anawan received the lost Wampanoag belt. Legend has it the ghost of a man has been seen sitting on the rock with his legs crossed and outstretched arms, located there in the Freetown State Forest. We went out to that rock and we looked at it. We didn't find anything the day we went, but that doesn't mean there's nothing there. That just means that pretty much just means there might be something there, but we didn't catch it. So we're hoping to catch that one again. Same with Dighton Rock. It's a 40-ton boulder located on the Stoughton River, firmly out near, family part of Dighton. There's petroglyphs on there that date back very early. It was found in 1963 while building a cofferdam. The boulder itself is six-sided black, about 5 feet high, 9 feet wide, and 11 feet long. And it has a gray-brown crystallization of sandstone. So it's quite interesting. And no one knows what these are. It could be the Native American, ancient Phoenicians, Norse, Portuguese, or the Chinese, because the Chinese actually came up this far. So some of the claims that take place in the triangle. But before we get to that, another town I wanted to touch on was Lakeville, Mass. Long Pond, 1,700-acre pond, borders Lakeville and Freetown, 9 feet, 12 feet. There's got 3 islands on there too. Great, Levis, and Nelson. So Lakeville, back a few years back, Lakeville, someone saw zombies in a park at Lakeville. That's been written in a couple different books. I haven't been able to confirm it or not. Happened in the 80s. So some of the claims are unidentified flying objects often form bright balls of light along large unusual spacecrafts. Unnatural animal sightings, ranging from unusual reports of animals not found in the area such as panthers and bears, or more supernatural claims such as giant snakes and enormous or huge, big, vicious dogs. I've never seen any of those down there. I've gotten reports of that stuff down there. UFOs, well, we've all seen them somewhere in our lives. So what else do we have here? Paranormal. So we also have some paranormal humanoid including sightings of Bigfoot, ghosts, poltergeists, and shadow people. These have been cited well throughout this, documented, especially in the 60s, 70s, and today. I just got a report of a possibility of a Bigfoot that was sighted in the swamp over the weekend. Again, I haven't gone to check it out personally, but one day I will get out there and try to. It might be interesting. Thunderbird sightings. Giant birds of Petrolactidae, light-flying creatures with wingspans up to 12 feet are claimed to have been seen in the Hockomock Swamp neighboring Taunton and Easton, including reports from the Norton Police Sergeant Thomas Downey. Another favorite, very questionable activity that can add to the spirit world and add to problems is cult activity, especially the animal mutilations. Various instances of animal mutilation have been reported throughout the years, particularly in the Freetown and Fall River area, where local police were called by to investigate mutilated animals believed to be the work of a cult. 2 incidences in 1998 were reported, one which was a single adult cow was found butchered in the woods, and the other which was a group of calves were discovered in a clearing grotesquely mutilated as part of some ritual sacrifice. The Native American, the Wampanoag natives, the Wampanoag people, according to their tale now, Native Americans had cursed the swamp and continued with because of the conflict with the colonial settlers. A revered object of the Wampanoag people, best known as the Wampum Belt, was lost during King Philip's War. Legend says the area owes paranormal unrest to these facts. So the fact of a Native American chieftain unrest in the Wampanoag Belt. So the next step would be finding out who might be doing this. Well, there is a creature that has been seen called the Pukwudgie from the Algonquin folklore that's considered little people to be dangerous and tricksters. They've especially associated themselves with the Freetown State Forest. So, Pukwudgie, translated, so is a little wild man of the woods that vanishes. It's a human-like creature, Wampanoag folklore found in Delaware, Prince Edward Islands as part of Indiana, Massachusetts. Some say 2 to 3 feet in height, and some say a little earlier. They both have pointy ears. These things would like you, they can appear and disappear and will shapeshift, which is most common for this creature. It looks like a porcupine, from the back half full, half human, from the front walks upright. They lure people to the death by using magic to launch poison arrows and create a fire. Natives believe the Pudruckies were once friendly to humans, but then turned against them. They are best left alone, according to the lore. A person who is annoyed by a Pudruckie should be subject to nasty tricks by it. The subject being followed by Pudruckies who are case in trouble in point. They were also known as the people who push things push their victims short onto knives, spears, to use sand to blind their victims. Pudruckies are said to be the enemies of culture heroes. The giant Marshall and his wife, Granny Squannet. One story of the Wampanoag folklore explores how they began the crossing medicine chief, tormenting natives with jealousy and devotion, and the effect it had on the Native Americans and their leader. that's just something else I wanted to discuss a little bit, because I find these things really interesting. If you have anything at home you'd like to add to this, I might have missed something. I think you would enjoy it. But, so the other thing I want to look at is in Lakeville, where the lake is. 1,700 acre lake. It goes 9 feet, 12 feet in the middle, and 3 islands, sorry. Great, Levis, and Melissa. Route 44, Rehoboth, and Seacon phase. So, Lakeville, back about 20 years ago, the town had a run against zombies, but the zombies had opened up packages and left them alone for the most part. But there was a huge write-up in the paper about possible zombie attacks. And then leaving that area on Route 44, you better watch out driving down. You might pick up a hitchhiker. So why do we think these places are the way they are? Now, inside the Bridgewater Triangle, you have many, many buildings that are haunted. I mean, we could be there all day long. In fact, around 1983, I remember seeing this on TV. They had to scramble the Air Force because 2 unidentified flying objects were on Air Force One. And they got it back without any problem, but it was very interesting. There's been mysterious balls of light even over the weekend. This weekend there was some reported to me. So it's been quite an interesting ride with this stuff. Other phenomena included animal spirits, devil dogs, and they would try to explain differences between the stories. And sometimes you weren't getting any differences between the stories. All those sites down there. You know what though? I can't forgo one of them. And this happened in the 70s, and it happened a few years back, I just found out. We've actually been asked to go investigate the site, and we'll be heading down there once the new weather breaks. So in 1977, there was a small humanoid creature with a large head, glowing eyes, orange eyes, pale skin, long, thin limbs, reported by multiple teenagers over 2 nights. Now they're known as the Dover Demon. So, I mean, the initial sightings were April 21st, 22nd, 1977. Witnesses described the creature standing 3.5 feet, 4 feet tall. Key features including large egg-shaped head and glowing eyes, which were reported as either orange or green. The creature was described as having a pale, hairless, slender body. It was observed moving on 2 legs, but was also seen moving on all 4. That's interesting. Some authorities suggested the creature would have been a hoax, possibly involving a school vacation prank. Others explain the proposed excluding mistake, suggesting the creature could have been forced to or a moose call. That's interesting because these things come out of nowhere and then they disappear. That's what makes these very interesting. Just so you know, what are they doing today? John Zaffis, near Christmas, does a Christmas concert live from the Buttonwoods Museum. If you want to tune in, you're more than welcome to it. Yeah, these Dover demons would scare the living daylights out of me. Big eyes, usually white or red. They're very, very scary. Just, remember, when you're going down there to investigate, go have fun, but please be careful. With all the sightings down there of birds and thunderbirds and everything else, you never know what you're going to find there in the Bridgewater Triangle. So we went over the Dover Demon, we went over the swamp. I think the next one to look at is the famous Lizzie Borden case in Fall River, Massachusetts. It's a very interesting case, I have to say. Lizzie Borden lived down in Fall River, born July 19th, 1860, in Fall River. Died June 1st at the age of 66 in Fall River. She's in dance, theater, and Harlem movies. Her parents were Andrew Jackson Borden and Sarah Anthony Borden, siblings of Emma Borden and Alaska Borden. So, and then of course, you know the story, she took a hatch and hit her mother, and then going up and killed her father. But living in that time span, I'm not defending this, but living out in that time span, even in the early 1900s, in some areas weren't great. They didn't have electricity, food, or enough water. They're in a big city. So what's interesting is they accused Lizzie of killing her parents, but in reality, the uncle came home when the fire truck showed up, did not budge at all, but the rest of the family budged. So it's quite interesting. We had investigated the house years ago with legendary psychic Gavin Cromwell from the UK. And the night we were there, besides me channeling on the bed that killed, where, her body was found, Lizzie's, it's really sad, but if you can get a chance to go out there. I actually channeled on the newer couch, still original to the house, but a little bit newer, of the couch that Andrew Borden was found dead on. The whole area of that house is now a little bit darker. And that's what's going, that's what I find interesting, is all the stuff that's going on down at this location has been quite scary. If you live down there, we do a lot of private investigations down in that area. We can see where you fit in the triangle, where you live down there, what goes on, gather some more information, maybe do a little investigating, and we'll see what goes on. The more information we can gather of a certain flop area, the better we're going to be when it comes time to deal with it. And we don't know what that's going to be. We really don't know what that's going to be. So you got the Borden home. So if you have a chance, get down there. It's a great place to go visit. It really is. And if you go down there too, I almost forgot, there have been Bigfoot sightings all along the triangle. Even as recent as last week, someone saw one near Freetown State Forest. I'm not going to say where, but somewhere out near Freetown State Forest. They actually saw a Bigfoot. So, I mean, if you're listening and you know more about this, you want to discuss it, you need us to come down and look at the areas that were hit in your neck of the woods, some of those towns, we'd be more than happy to come down and investigate for you. So just making sure we covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover tonight. Oh, they also found, I forgot about this one. I was looking over my notes. I forgot to mention, and I think I mentioned this in other shows, but petroglyphs of lines of geographic shapes and drawings. They found them in 1963, like building when they were building a coffer dam. The building itself was slated 6-sided blocks, 5 feet high, 9 feet wide. It is a gray known crystal size sandstone. They don't know who made these, but some say Native Americans, the usual ancient Phoenicians, none of the above, the Portuguese or even the Chinese, because they were here. So if you ever get a chance to get out there, I would. Oh, and if you're driving along Route 44 in Rehoboth, out on Copycat Road. Oh, yeah. So if you're driving out there, you want to be careful because you might pick up a hitchhiker. 1 minute he's in your seat and the next minute he's gone. So if you're ever out in that area and you're concerned about picking up the red-headed hitchhiker, I would be real nice and kind, because we still don't know much about the guy except he disappeared. And sometimes he shows up right in front of you. So get prepared for that one. So with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight on our revisit of the historic haunted Bridgewater Triangle. I hope you enjoyed this show. We got bigger shows being planned, special shows this year coming up. We're going nowhere. We're going to be having fun. We're going to be educating the public, and we're going to get things done and accomplished. So I want to thank everybody tonight for tuning in. It's been a great show. I always enjoy talking about the Bridgewater Triangle. And in coming weeks, we'll be talking about the Ossipee Triangle. We may be heading out there. We may even do a show from one of these triangles yet. So if you have any other information you want to share with me, you can private message me, or you can email the Paranormal Zone, and we will definitely get back to you. The paranormalzone.org will get back to you. .com, sorry. Paranormalzone.com. We'll get back to you. Bob answers them real quick. He'll get a hold of me, and I'll get a hold of you guys. So if you have any issues out there, you want something investigated, let's check this place out together. And maybe we'll launch a fundraising expedition through the Freetown State Forest coming up in the spring. So stay tuned for that, and we'll give out how you can take this trip in the next coming weeks. So thank you again, everybody. We enjoyed having you listening. Thanks again from our friends over the small lake in Europe and Russia, Cuba, Afghanistan, wherever you're listening. Keep up the good work, everybody, and thank you. And I'm heading back to my crib. Good night, everybody. Good night.